Hi there, good evening, and welcome to another session on this crash course of Snap. So, if you notice, this was not really a part of the original schedule, but then I keep on telling you so often and so repeatedly that all that you need to do is reach out to us, let us know what it is that is bothering you, and we will definitely help you till the last moment, till the last drop of our blood. Huh? ज़्यादा हो गया था figure of speech पढ़ा पढ़ा के, but then that's how it is. Okay, so I welcome you to BYJU'S exam prep channel. This is part of our series called Crash Course on Snap, and today I will briefly touch upon the strategy that you need to adapt for slot 2. Although by now I'm sure you have formed up the strategy, you've also seen what all came in slot 1, and things are pretty straightforward, pretty clear. But even more importantly, all those question types that bothered people, stumped people, people that made people uncomfortable, those are the question types that I want you to practice with me before you head out for your SNAP exam this Sunday or the next one. So let's start. Here you go. A quick review. As usual, no major surprises. 60-minute exam, +1 and -2.5 as your marking scheme. There was no sectional time limit. So normally when you have no sectional time limit, it basically means that question selection becomes important, and you need to go from easy questions to difficult questions. And considering that the overall difficulty level of the exam is anyway on the lower side, can I say that you should start with less time consuming questions and then from there move on towards questions that are more time consuming? And typically, almost invariably, it would mean that you will start with verbal ability, because historically, all the exams that I've seen, the question types that take the least amount of time are GK questions, closely followed by questions that are predominantly based on vocabulary and at times even grammar. And then paragraph based questions, RC, etc., would follow. But then this is once again a slight more detail of the paper pattern. If you've attended a live analysis of Snap immediately after your exam, you probably know that more or less the difficulty level was at par with previous year. Same for general English. Analytical and logical reasoning turned out to be a little easier, whereas Bond DIDS turned out to be a little more difficult as compared to the last year, and that obviously has some bearing on the cutoffs. But and here is the detailed breakup of what we got in slot 1. And then what all, oh, I'm getting a lot of messages. I checked the answer of slot 2 test. I got 13 correct out of 14 attempts. Oh, very nice. Where do you get the answers from? Ishita, memory based. You share the questions, we'll tell you the answers. There was a question in slot 2. No man is an island. Okay, is it interdependence? Was it? What was the question again? Unfortunately, I could not write Snap this year, and that makes it difficult for me to pick up what this would be. Okay, but I would not really call it interdependence. Interdependence is not exactly a figure of speech. I don't know why. If that was given in the answer choices, I wouldn't even know why. Huh, was it? I don't know. It depends. If you give me more options, then I can probably eliminate and then choose, because my first instinct will be to call it a metaphor, a denial of a metaphor in a way. Okay, and then somebody asked me about. Okay, then we of course had these 9 questions of verbal reasoning as well that are kind of English. Uh, but then there are, okay. Somebody's asking me about the percentiles. Yeah, you can go watch GB's session. That session will basically fill you in on what percentile you should expect at a score of around 35. I will have to otherwise, go back and look at it. I haven't really, I could not really go ahead and see that yet. Okay, but moving forward, let's just go ahead solve the questions in the interim. If somebody from the team is in here, yeah, could you please look into it and flash the cutoffs once again? Otherwise, if you watch GB's session, you will be able to find that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our questions. So question number one. Okay, so metaphor was not even an option, then that I think challenges us a little more. So in each one of these questions, you'll find the directions right up top in gold italics, and then the question will follow. The moment I get some 4 or 5 answers, we can go ahead and start our discussion. Here is the first one. So you are supposed to give me the part of speech of the underlined word. But Ishita, I'm still worried about interdependence. If you can think of the other options, please let me know. And okay, I think 80%, 90% of the answers are correct. It is C, linked how. You notice anything that gives you an answer of how, when, where, how often would typically be an adverb. So how, when, where, how often, why. When you ask these 5 questions, the answer that you get is mostly going to be an adverb that modifies a verb, or at times even another adjective or adverb. So here, linked how, judiciously, and therefore the correct answer is C. It is not a verb, it is not an adjective. Linked is a verb because it describes a verb. We'll call it an adverb. Okay, here is the next one. Question number 2 on your screen. Once again, you are supposed to give me the part of speech. Okay, and the correct answer is a lot of you marking it as marking it an adverb. So, what does it describe? What does it tell you? What does it talk about? There was. Can I say that there was some instance of bullying that happened or that occurred in the past? So when you say such bullying, you're basically referring to that instance. So this is essentially something that goes on to stand in for a noun, and therefore it is a pronoun. This is a simple thing. Once the class gets over, I want you to go ahead and look up the word such in a dictionary and pay attention to those part of speech along with the examples that are given, and that will give you greater clarity. So here because it stands for a noun, we'll call it a pronoun. Question number 3, another part of speech question for you. All right. Arre Baba. So pragmatism is dictating Saudi posture. So you notice this is a clause. The future of its economic model is at stake. That is another clause. How are these two clauses being joined? They're joined using as, which here is acting as a conjunction that gives you reason. So you notice when we want to provide a reason, there are these 4 conjunctions that we typically use: because, since, as, and for. So here it is being used as a conjunction that joins 2 clauses, and it tells you that the clause that comes after is providing us the reason for whatever is stated in the first clause. Okay, so that is your question number 3. So that's a bit about part of speech. So you can expect these questions in the exam. The best way out for these questions is replacement strategy. So if you are not very aware of the different components of a sentence, and you're not very sure of all these grammatical terms, try to replace that word with some other word. So the thing is that a word can only be replaced by another word of the same category of the same type. Noun and pronoun are the only 2 exceptions that we have there. Otherwise, everything is basically interchangeable. Okay, so here you go. Question number 4. Now, moving over to something else. So, you know that we do get these active voice, passive voice based questions. So, let's practice a couple of these as well. And then, in case you have a challenge, we can go ahead and deal with it. Hadia, please give an example of when as is used as a preposition. As is not used as a preposition. As if you need a preposition, you'd use like. So I say he is like my brother. So you use like. A lot of people use as a preposition. Those sentences are actually grammatically incorrect. Ishita is also, yeah, Ishita, I'd have to, that'll suddenly, if I start thinking, that'll derail me. So let's focus on these questions. You can drop these in the group, and then we can get back to these once we've gone through these. And he's saying slot 2. When did you get to write slot 2? The question was about as, it was not about such as. There are around 150 words which are used as prepositions in English. 50 of them are quite common. The remaining 120, not that common. The remaining 100 odd, sorry, not 120, but 100 odd, not that common. So, what's your take? So far it is a split house between B and D. Which one are you going with? So I will, acha, 431. I was like, yeah. Okay, I got confused for a brief while. Okay, so the correct answer is B. She was found a good husband was by us. Founded is to establish something, to start something. Educational institutions can be founded by people. A husband cannot be founded. So that will be the wrong wrong meaning here. So it should be B. So moreover, you know what we do in active passive voice? The object becomes the subject becomes the object. So here we had two objects. Any of these could have been turned into the subject and that would have worked for us. And another problem with D then is that if you say a good husband was found for her by us, where did this other object go then? We cannot start deleting stuff, yeah. Come on. Okay. So you have a Vishal says her has no relevance. Her is not present in B. Not relevance. That changes the meaning entirely. Okay, here is the next one. This time around, an interrogative sentence. Let us see how you fare. Okay. Ankit, is that your answer to question number 5? Okay. So absolutely right. A it is. So you know when we go from active to passive or vice versa, we cannot change the tense because we are using past continuous. We need to use past continuous even in passive voice. And therefore it is easy for us to rule out the rest of them. Here is the next one. Question number 6 on your screen. Go ahead, give it a shot. And when I say give it a shot, give the question a shot. Do continue to take showers. They're not that difficult or that challenging in winters, as some people may feel. Okay, loads of answers coming in. Let us see. In winter, people do not take a shower. A shower is not taken by people in winter. D should be the right answer. That works. That works for me. Yes. Some of us have also chosen A, maybe for this question. No shower is taken by people in winter. We say a shower is not taken, no? Passive voice needs to have is MR plus the past participle. And because the original sentence uses a not, his is negative, we need to retain that. So we cannot really change it wholesale. Yeah? So here is the next one. Question number 7. This time around, I'm not asking you for active and passive voice. Remember direct and indirect speech slash narration. So I'm asking you to change the speech or the narration of the sentence that is given to you. Go ahead and then tell me what it is or what the answer should be. Okay, so our answer to question number 7. Where are the answers? Why am I not getting the answers yet? So, one of the key things is that said to is converted into told. So I can rule out A, I can rule out C. So what's your take in B and D? So because it is in the past form, the tense of the part within the quote marks will change. So we can no longer use shall. What is the past form of shall? The past of shall is would. A lot of people make this mistake where they think that it is should. No, that is not the case, right? So if I look at B, we have not changed the tense, and therefore B can also be eliminated, and that leaves you with D as your best answer choice. So Mary told Robert that they would see him if he came. So this is a slightly complicated example, and here is another one. Let us see what you think of this. Hmm, I forgot to introduce the commas here, so let me at least keep those intact. Better, so that you don't have to worry much about the punctuations. Huh? So that does not throw you. Ankit, even if you use should in the options, that'll be incorrect because will and shall are changed into would when you make convert them into past. Should is never a past form of shall. Should as a model auxiliary verb, has an entirely different meaning. We use should to talk about moral obligations. We use should to offer advice. We also use should to replace if. That's the job of should. Okay, so the correct answer here is option A. Why A? Why am I not changing the tense now? So, if your quote marks basically has some idiomatic expression, an idiom, a proverb, a saying, then you don't change the tense of that saying or that proverb. If it has a idiomatic expression, if it happens to have a universal truth, in these cases we never change the tense. This is just one of those exceptions. So remember in our previous class, when I took you through active passive voice, I kept things light, light, light. But today I've at least introduced you to two complicated sentences. And I hope that through both of these, you've gone on to learn something else. So something like, he said the sun rises in the east. He said that the sun rises in the east. You won't change it because it's a universal truth. Same goes for idioms and proverbs. Okay, so that's about speech. And now, what do you have in question number 9? Idioms. So here's an idiom for you. Can you share the meaning of the idiom with me? Absolutely right. The correct answer is B, and I think everybody has managed to get this one right. Let me test your understanding of the next one. No, no, Divyanshu, across the board means something that applies to all. So if I say there is going to be a pay cut across the board, then it means that everybody is going to be affected by it. Okay. Here is the next one. Let me see if you can tell me what this means. Okay. So we have one answer by Hadia. Hadia has chosen to answer us twice, this time around adding the question number as well, closely followed by Ishita. Absolutely. The answer is A, indeed. The bigger question is, how do you know this? Huh? Tell me, how do you know this? But yes, it is indeed A. It's not D. Okay, here is the next one. Another one from another one based on idiom. अच्छा, मुझे लगा कहीं एक्सपेरिमेंट कर करके देख रहे हो. Smriti, which one? Which one do you want me to use in a sentence? I'd be more than happy to. Hair of the dog is basically replacement of a noun. So there are times when people consume a lot of alcohol, copious quantities of alcohol, then they are hungover and dehydrated in the morning. They're not even able to walk. So if somebody offers them another drink and says it will cure your hangover, then you say, okay, just have a hair of the dog and you should be all right. For 11, we are talking about a cold fish. I think this is to a certain extent self explanatory. But then, a cold fish basically refers to a heartless individual, a person who lacks empathy, a person who lacks emotion. Also, you come across people who look and appear unemotional, right? And as a result, you generally call them unfriendly, unsympathetic, and that is why the correct answer here is option A. So unsympathetic. What would feelingless even really mean? Okay, here is the next one, 12. This time around, I'm testing your understanding of spellings. There are just two questions on spellings. I basically want you to be ready for whatever the exam dishes out. So I'll try to take you through as many of those newer question varieties as I can. So you have four words on the screen. One of them is spelled incorrectly. Choose that word as your answer. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, Divyanshu, Gaurav, Vrinda, Sarthak. B is not the answer. Brocade is a sort of fabric. It is a silky fabric which has a raised, embossed kind of design on it. You probably thinking that, oh, that is not how brocode is spelled. No, it is not brocode. It is brocade. So B is absolutely right. Bristling is also right. If you are bristling with anger, it means that you are full of anger, very upset. When breach means an act of breaking a law or a contract. Breach can also mean to make a gap in some sort of fortification. That's also correct. And then you have D, which is incorrect. It should be brevity with an E, which basically means conciseness, the quality of being concise. So the correct answer was D. So those of you who got a D, absolutely right. And in 13th, I'm just changing the question slightly. In the previous one, I asked you to pick up the word which was incorrectly spelled. This time around, I'm asking you to choose something which is correctly spelled. And Snap has a tendency to repeat some questions from the previous years. It has happened in Snap. It's one of those, I think, only B school exam where I've seen repetitions happening. So this question is my tribute to that tendency where I have also chosen to repeat a question. And if you've attended my sessions, this should be easy for you. So, yep, only D is spelled correctly. A should be philanderer. B should be snobbish. There is an extra A. Portend, the I needs to go. So that's your question number 13. Philanderer is a man who readily gets into casual sexual relationships with women, a playboy. Snobbish, snob, arrogant. Portend is a sign or a warning that something bad is likely to happen. Pharaoh is a title given to the kings in ancient Egypt. Most of us thankfully know that through the movies that we've watched. And with that, let me take you over to question number 14. Fill in the blanks. And I'm kind of combining fill in the blanks with tenses here. So if you are good at tense, you should be able to find the answers easily. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So A it is. A is the correct answer indeed. Fabulous. In case you have any confusion, any question, you can ask me and I can go ahead and describe. But A it is. Right? Atashi, you are on the 13th question. यार थोड़ा live आजा, it'll be easier for me. Okay, question number 15. All of us who have chosen B have gone on to make a classical mistake. The correct answer is A. Now you notice would, that's your helping verb. When do you put a helping verb before the subject? You do that when you are creating a question. But look at this sentence. Look at the terminal punctuation mark. It is a full stop or a period to be more appropriate. Not a question. And because it is not a question, the helping verb should come after the subject. And that is why the right answer is A. This is a mistake that I see so many people make around us that I can't even tell you. I think 70-80% of the people make this mistake. I could never understand why women act like this. Now, let me also introduce a helping word. I could never understand why women cannot get angry. I can never understand why women cannot get angry. We don't say I cannot understand why can't women get angry. That'll be a question. That's incorrect. Okay, so the right answer here is option A. So she would. And we need would. Thankfully, none of you have chosen C or D because the sentence was in past. You obviously could not have chosen will. Here is the next question where I am testing you on something a little weird. Which one of these is not a compound word? So, a compound word is a word which is created by combining two words together. For example, table lamp, or about, I just had these in the afternoon. Popcorn, scarecrow, sunrise. These are words that are created by combining two different words together. So these are called compound words. One of these is not a compound word. Which one? Absolutely spot on, A. Now, this is a question that generally asks you to look at etymology, which is not practical. You cannot do that for all the words that you learn. So, all that you do is you just try to work with elimination and then see. So, in this particular case, I hope that is a strategy that you've used to arrive at A as your answer, because B, C, and D you can see after noon. So, we have noon as a word, then jellyfish, backyard. Absolutely. Here is something that a lot of people wanted me to take them through. So, can you identify the figure of speech in the underlined part of the underlined part? Okay. So let's see. First up, what is imagery? Imagery is use of words to create a vivid mental image of uh, a particular thing, or maybe create those vivid physical sensations built around that thing. So but there is no vivid imagery being created here, so it's not a personification. Is when we think of an inanimate object, a non-living thing, and give it the qualities of the living thing. But are we doing it for a non-living thing here? No. Okay, synecdoche is when we use a part to represent the whole. Okay. Uh, so, for instance, when somebody has a wedding proposal, he may go to the girl's family and say that I'm here to ask for her hand. I'm here to ask for her hand. So, does he want only her hand or does he want the entire person? So here, a part of that person is being used to represent the entire person, and therefore that is called synecdoche. Okay, I think I took a session of it on it a couple of days ago, which was made open to all the paid batches for sure. So let's see. So in this case, you notice he says he feeds 5 mouths every day. So he's not feeding just the mouth, he's actually feeding the persons behind them. So here mouth is used to represent the entire person. So it's definitely a synecdoche. Then Hadia, absolutely Hadia. The fourth one is epigram. Epigram is a short, witty, humorous quote. Huh. So they typically include a twist at the end, a short quote attributed to a person, which also happens to have a twist at the end. We generally call those epigrams. For example, there is this very famous quote by Albert Einstein. It says the difference between genius and stupidity is that genius has its limits. That's an epigram. Then there is this another one by, I think, Mark Twain. They said, outside of a dog, a book is a man's best friend outside of a dog. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read anyway. So, such short, pithy, clever, humorous statements are called epigrams. But here it turned out to be synecdoche. Okay, then taking you to the next one. Which figure of speech is used in this sentence? This is an easy question, okay? This is easy. I've mostly kept everything easy in this particular question. Oh, yes, hyperbole because faster than the wind. Hyperbole is deliberate exaggeration. We talked about personification in the previous one. Metaphor is when you compare two dissimilar things without using terms like or as. Hyperbole is exaggeration. Alliteration is when you have two words that happen to have the same consonant sound at the beginning. So I was reading this particular poem. The first line of the poem actually had alliteration. It was hmm, loaded with mail of linked lies. What is loaded with mail? Loaded, linked, lies. All the three words happen to have the same consonant sound at the beginning. So we say that there is alliteration in this particular sentence. Then your next question on the screen. A, B, and C are pretty regular figures of speech. I think most of you will know the meanings. D can challenge some people, but let's see. Yes, Vinod, absolutely yes. A lot of our tongue twisters actually have alliterations. चंदू के चाचा ने चंदू की चाची को चांदी के चमचे से चटनी चटाई. गाना भी आया था ना ऐसा, इसको गाने में भी बनाया था ना किसी ने, भाई खड़क सिंह के खड़कने से खड़कती है खिड़कियां, खिड़कियों के खड़कने से खड़कता है. Well, absolutely yes. The answer for 19th is the answer for 19th should be, my god, my mic fell down. Let's hope that the volume remains all right. Just a sec. Hanji, so that was about question number 19. What else do you want to ask? Shruti, which figure of speech is it when there are vowel sounds repeated? So I not able to recall any specific figure of speech which is based around repetition of vowel sounds at the beginning, but if you happen to have two or more words in close proximity that repeat the vowel sounds without the repetition of the consonant sounds, they may or may not come at the beginning, then that figure of speech is called assonance. Okay, that's called assonance. So that's the one that I could at least recall. Yeah. Then, okay, you know understatement. Understatement is the opposite of hyperbole, where you downplay things. Simile, comparison between two dissimilar things using terms like, as though. Anaphora, okay. Anaphora is when you have the repetition of a word or a phrase at the beginning of successive clauses. So let's say that you have a sentence or a set of sentences. Every clause starts with the same word or the same phrase. Then you call it anaphora. I think the most famous example is I came, I saw, I conquered. And then there was a song that I was listening to, and here it is. It's by Destiny's Child. The song is called Survivor. And here are some of the lyrics. You thought I wouldn't grow without you. You thought that I'd be helpless without you. So you notice. So this repetition is called anaphora. So postcat, my tendency to put you through poetry becomes a little more pronounced, dominant. So go ahead and give me the answer to this one. So the trouble here is that in poetry there are times when things are not always direct. So if you look at the end, this is where you realize what is happening. You're saying wine is a mocker. And then all the other three also are applicable to wine. So say wine is the childhood of the world. Wine is the anger of the tempest. Wine is the deceitfulness of the riches. Wine is a mocker. So that wine part in the first three sentences was implicit. So here you notice that wine is being compared to a lot of other things. But in that comparison, we are not using like or as, and therefore the best answer choice should be metaphor. It is not a personification because we're not saying that wine is angry. We're comparing wine to something else. We're not attributing those emotions to wine. It's basically a metaphor. Teju. Okay. For example, if I say that you've heard of this legendary phrase, I told you. So instead of saying I told you, what if I say that you cannot say that I did not tell you? So what have I done here? You notice I wanted to convey this, but instead of using the affirmative sentence, I basically used two negatives to convey that. So it makes it a little, what would I say, politer, less harsh, kind of a thing. So that's what it is. Okay, then we know metaphor, you know personification, we've talked about alliteration. What is climax? Climax is a figure of speech in which successive words, so let's say you have these words that come one after the another, or phrases that come one after the other, clauses that come after the other. They are arranged in an increasing order of significance, increasing order of importance. So, for example, let a man acknowledge his obligations to himself, his family, his country, and his God. So you notice himself, his family, his country, his God. So progressively making those things bigger in importance. So you call that climax. If you do the opposite, if you write them in an opposite order, you'd call it an anti-climax. So that's what I had for you today. If you enjoyed working with me, don't forget to give this video a like. And you can actually go through my session on figure of speech in case you're not a BYJU'S exam prep student by unlocking a 3-day free trial. I just took that 2-3 days ago in our OMAT batch, and that should help you. And you can also, of course, consider opting for a test series which also contains more than 55 non-CAT mocks. So if CAT is not your target, but all of these other upcoming exams are, you'd still find it immensely useful. And we are starting with our ZAT crash course on the 19th. So join us at 7 p.m. every day for that. Once we are done with the second slot of Snap this 18th. And by now, I am sure you've already used this. In case you have not, please go ahead and use the score calculator and percentile predictor. For that matter, you can also use our fabulous tool called CAT College Predictor. You just need to input some of your personal things, and you would be able to figure out personal things as in 10th, 12th, all that. Height, right profile, left profile, नहीं मांग रहा. So the board that you are from, your gender, your education stream, your marks, and we can actually give you eerily accurate prediction, right? And once again, don't forget to join us on the 18th and 22nd. And the next one is on 17th. मैं बार बार 18th बोल रहा हूँ यार. So join us there as well, and wishing you all the very best for equally great and maybe even better percentile. That's it from me today. Looking forward to meeting you soon in my next session. In fact, I am taking you through a ZAT session at 12 noon tomorrow. So you want to practice some ZAT kind of questions? Join in and we'll work together. Until then, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. Enjoy your evening and keep working hard. See you soon.